Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. Frank Robinson died today at the age of 83. If you don't know him, his number 20 is retired by the Cleveland Indians and by the Cincinnati Reds, for that matter. Robinson, the only player in baseball history to be the MVP in each league, once with the Cincinnati Reds and once with the Baltimore Orioles, also made baseball history by being the first African-American manager in the game. That was in 1975 when he was given the job by Ten Bada of the Cleveland Indians. If that wasn't enough pressure, he was also a player manager. On opening day against Doc Medich and the New York Yankees, Robinson, batting second and wearing the tomato can red uniform, crushed a solo home run to left center in the bottom of the first inning. The Indians then held on to win 5-3. Excluding postseason and World Series games, this has to be one of the greatest moments in Cleveland baseball history. Robinson was a Hall of Famer, a two-time MVP, and a manager 28 years after Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Thursday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year. And, of course, we are seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Thursday night means it's the D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, with us, plain dealer in cleveland.com. And bad news today, Frank Robinson passes away, and that's one of the great moments in the memory of you as a Cleveland Indians fan.
Yeah, it's definitely a sad day for not only baseball, but the Cleveland Indians, because he's so inextricably linked to the Indians. But yeah, my first vivid memory of baseball, of professional baseball,
right,
was April 8th, 1975. I looked it up on Baseball Reference. 56,715 was the paid attendance, or the attendance figure that's given. Right. I can guarantee 4 of those were my mom, my dad, me, and my older brother.
Chalk me up part of it also.
And my dad was a stickler about going to opening days. That's the first one I remember. We were on the first base side. I remember Robinson hitting the home run off Doc Medich. I want to say it was into the wind because it felt like we were freezing on the first base side because I think the wind's coming in off the lake. It was just unbelievable, the goose pimples that you got, because even though at the time I was 7 years old, I was 7.5 years old, but that's when I first began to follow baseball, the 75 season. And of course that was opening day, and it was an unbelievable game. The Indians win.
Now you're telling me, and I didn't remember this part, that Boog Powell had a phenomenal game that day too.
Yeah, going into the 75 season, I had 2 favorite Indians. One was Jack Brohammer, who had been with them several years before that. And the other was Boog Powell, just because of his name, and he was a big slugger. He came over from the Orioles that offseason because Earl Weaver, I guess, was done with them for whatever reason, maybe the platoon or something. Powell's debut was that day, and he went, I looked it up, I'm not going to say I remembered everything, 3 for 3, 2 RBI, walk, and he had a home run in the 4th inning off Doc Medich.
But it's overshadowed, of course, by what Robinson
Of course.
did.
I mean, everybody should remember that Robinson batting second with 1 out in the bottom of the first, homers off Medich.
You want to take a look at it?
Absolutely. I remember it, and I want to see it again.
Virgil Dominic recalls 1975.
Gerald Ford enters his final year as President of the United States. Former Teamsters President Jimmy Hoffa is reported missing, and Jack Nicholson is a hit at the box office in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The year is 1975, and our Indians are making baseball history. On April 8th, opening day at Municipal Stadium, Frank Robinson debuts as a player-manager of the Indians. He becomes the first African-American manager in Major League history. Robinson, the manager, decides that Robinson, the player, gives the Indians the best chance of winning. So he puts himself in the opening day lineup.
A Hollywood scriptwriter wouldn't try to put something like this into a movie. And the funniest thing about it, the ironic thing about it, is that before the game, Phil Segui said to Frank, "Hey, one last thought, Skip. Why don't you hit a home run on your first time at bat?"
Robinson takes the advice to heart. In his very first at-bat against the New York Yankees' documentage, Robinson, the player, makes Robinson, the manager, look like a genius.
They had television cameras, they had still cameras, and he literally had to wade through all the cameras to get the home plate, and then he hits the home run off Doc Medich. I mean, you think about a pressure situation and somebody rising to the occasion. That was one of the more dramatic moments.
And when he hit that home run, it was like the skies had opened up and everything was perfect. And though I often didn't in times before that, I knew that at that point there was a God up in heaven.
Robinson's homer remains one of the most memorable moments from the Indians' days at Municipal Stadium.
All right, there you go, Frank Robinson, first African-American manager in MLB history. Only player to win the MVP in both the American League and National League. Currently ranks 10th all-time in home runs with 586. Inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown back in 1982. The interesting thing about it, you saw Ted Bonda there, who didn't get enough credit for what he did in hiring Frank Robinson. They acquired him in a trade at the end of '74, if you recall. And Gaylord Perry was on that team. And a fight had to be broken up between the two guys. And Gaylord Perry demanded in the offseason that he get $1 more than Frank Robinson on his salary.
Yeah, it was no secret that those two
did
not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
You know what? If it's possible for a 500-plus home run guy to be undervalued as a player, I think Robinson fits it. Of course, we know he was great, but I think because of because of what he did as a manager,
right,
because of he was the first black manager, people sometimes forget how great a player he actually was.
I agree, and yet he's the only one to be an MVP in both leagues.
Yeah, I guess somebody would say, well, how can you overlook a guy who was MVP in both leagues?
No, I agree.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? When names are rattled off about the all-time
Totally
great sluggers, Robinson sometimes isn't mentioned in the first 5, 6, 7 that roll off your tongue when he has every right to be. And his numbers were insane.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at realleslavine@gmail.com. You can do that. We're here till 7 o'clock tonight, 216-575-0403. Dennis Manoloff is with us. Frank Robinson, that home run that he hit, we all remember the, I call them the tomato red can uniforms.
Fire engine red, take your pick.
They were horribly ugly back then. They don't look so bad now in retrospect.
Based on what some of the uniforms have been since then,
yeah.
Those look tame. There we are.
I'm wondering if you're talking about Robinson. You made a great point. I hadn't thought about that because when you think of sluggers, that he does not come right to mind. But the question is, where does he stand as a player in Major League history? Is he a top 20 player?
I mean, I haven't looked at the advanced metrics on him. I don't even know what his career WAR is. I'll check that, or we'll have the staff check it. But I have to believe he's one of the. And we were talking, before the show, the '66 Orioles come to mind when you mentioned Robinson and Powell, because they were integral parts of that championship team for the Orioles. They sweep the Dodgers in the World Series. We looked it up. Robinson, 49 homers. Powell, 34? So they had 83 homers combined. But he was hitting homers when it wasn't easy to hit homers.
Well, the Orioles beat the Dodgers. They swept them in the World Series, and you of course, you went through the stats there. Game 3 and 4 for the Orioles were 1-0 shutouts. Yes. How's that possible?
I don't know. We didn't have a chance to check the boxes, but it was an upset, Les. As you know, you were alive then and an avid fan. I was a year to be born, but
I love that Oriole team.
The Dodgers were the favorites.
Yes.
Correct? And the Orioles swept them. And to have Powell and Robinson joining forces again in Cleveland in '75.
Well, Boog was pretty washed up at that point, but he was still a factor.
But he had a solid year for the Indians that year. I remember that. But that day, it'll never leave me until the day I die. That visual, I remembered Robinson stumbling out of the box as we saw in the video, and I remembered. I swear to you, I remembered as a kid. I didn't know it was going to be gone. I mean, we were all excited. Everybody knew it was hit deep. when he stumbled, I was like, oh no, is he going to get to second base for a double?
If it hits
Is he going to make it to it? And of course it was plenty out. But
my memory fails me, and maybe if we watch that video again, we could tell. I think that was when the portable fence was there, and people were standing behind the fence. Do you recall that or not?
I don't. I don't recall the portable fence part.
56,000 people.
I just remember for a 7.5-year-old kid. Now, I might have been to a couple other openers. My dad might have taken me.
Right.
But as I said, the first one I remember is the 75 opener. I just remember the most gigantic place ever that seemed like it was packed to me.
Yep.
It seemed like people were everywhere. Obviously, It wasn't sold out based on seating capacity. And I remember it being cold, and the red uniforms, and Frank Robinson batting. And my dad had told us, how significant a day it was, because this was Frank Robinson's, debut as player manager as an African American.
I thought that I had heard that. I know that he put himself second because the reasoning on that is he didn't have enough at bats during spring training, and he thought maybe if he got up in a situation, instead of being counted on for a hit, he could move a runner over and all. But I believe there was a real possibility that he wasn't going to be activated that day, as Virgil Dominic said. As
he alluded to, yeah, I don't remember that. I just I remember Oscar Gamble leading off and making an out.
Right.
He flied out or popped out or something like that, because Gamble was obviously easy to remember and because of the the afro. And then I remember Robinson hitting a homer, and that's pretty much. I know we were excited when they won,
right?
But I barely remember the win. I just remember the home run.
I didn't even remember that Powell had such a good day. I only thought of that home run in the first inning by Frank Robinson. Our condolences to his family. Let's check out MS&LL headlines for the day, brought to you by Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Frank Robinson, as we mentioned, dies at the age of 83. Browns coordinators are introduced to the media today, and Marc Gasol traded to Toronto. Anthony Davis stays put in New Orleans.
Yeah, shame on the New Orleans Pelicans for not cooperating. Yeah, it was amazing to hear, Les, the past few days, select outlets nationally were virtually scolding the Pelicans for not caving.
I'm assuming you're talking about business partners of the NBA?
Well, I don't want to name names, but I heard at least 2 national shows, national hosts saying, alluding to or all but saying, hey, Pelicans, get with it.
The
Lakers want Davis. You need to trade him to the Lakers. Why?
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis Manoloff is with us. We're here till 7 o'clock tonight, and of course you can archive us. You can go back in last month or so and check out any program that you would like. And you can also check on us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine. With new content posted each and every day. We'll get to some of your responses from today a little bit later. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
number one, our vision is Freddie's vision. It's all about being on the same page, and I think there's a constant communication that we've already started that we will continue to have throughout each session, and I think it's important that we're all on the same page. We got to work well together, from a standpoint of making sure that we complement each other in the things that we need to see in the off season, so we're preparing ourselves for the season. And Freddie's already mentioned a lot about having, these one-on-one meetings with the coordinators, making sure that we implement and have the things in place that we need. So I'm excited about that.
That the bottom line is, no matter what job you take, whether it's an hour meeting or a 3-hour meeting, you got to do your research from people that really know who they are, because anybody can fool you. Just like, when I was interviewing for a couple head coaching jobs, I'd hoped they'd asked people about me, not just taking my word for it. Because anybody can stand up there and tell you what you want to hear. And the proof is in, you want to know what kind of coach I am? Ask the guys I coached. Ask the guys I coached with. Don't ask me. If you want to know what kind of husband I am, ask my wife. You want to know what kind of father I am, ask my child. That's what really matters. But the rest of it, you do your research and find out who the people are. And sure, there's going to be, there's going to be times where, when it gets tough, that's when you find out who people really are. Right now, this is the honeymoon. Had a great run, the back half of the year. And we'll see. We've got a good young roster, and I like what I see so far, and hopefully they do in me.
What we've had the last 2 years in Minnesota is we were the least penalized special teams units in the league 2 years in a row. That's the mentality I'd like to bring here, and I think we're going to get that. We just hired an assistant, Doug Coleman, who's going to work with me on special teams. He came from Dallas. He's been in Houston, and he's got the same mentality I do. We're going to play penalty-free football. We're going to play fast. We're going to play physical. We're going to play disciplined. We're going to play with enthusiasm and passion, and we're going to help our football team win games. I don't think that, I don't want to go into a situation where I think, hey, we're going to go out and win every game for the Cleveland Browns. And that's not our role on special teams. Our role is to go out there and be a weapon in all 6 phases, including field goal and field goal block. Be a weapon, play great complementary football, and at the end of the day, let's hope we win the game. And that's where our mentality is going to be as we train these young men.
He lived in Cleveland up till, I think, 10 years old.
Yeah, and he's got that issue with the slur that he uttered.
He made, and he apologized for it then and now.
He's fortunate.
They didn't hide it.
No, he's fortunate to have a job, really, in the NFL still, and good for him that he's he's apologizing for it and being contrite about it. But yeah, there's no getting around that.
From a standpoint of the special teams, he continually talked about the 6 phases, and he's talking about all the whole kicking game and the return game and all that. And what was pretty impressive is his stats up in Minnesota, where they were the least penalized special teams group.
Yeah, Les, the good news for him is the expectation level for special teams here is so low that it's almost impossible for him to not eclipse it. All you have to do is not screw up, and you're a great special teams in this town, because we've seen way too many penalties on special teams, negative returns that should have been positive, bungled kicks. Now, the punting has been good with Colquitt, obviously, so I don't want to throw him under the bus. But, yeah, just don't mess up. Be a part of a victory. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a kick return for a touchdown or a punt return for a touchdown or a punt block. But how about just fundamentally sound special teams?
Catch the ball on a punt, go 6-7 yards, no penalties, and you're in business on that.
Yes.
Monken, on the other hand,
your buddy.
No, I have no problem with him. He didn't win the press conferences. That's what you're going to ask.
Maybe that's good, because so many times coaches win and then when they lose.
But he said he'd never had met Freddie Kitchens or John Dorsey. Does that surprise you? How do you get the job? I mean, it must have been highly recommended.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously got credentials. A lot of people loved him. They say he dovetails with Kitchens. Maybe Monken was in the hopper in case something fell through with Kitchens, or there was an overrule on the committee, and somehow Kitchens didn't become the head coach. Maybe Monken then is at least the OC and at most the coach. Who knows?
Did you go to the awards dinner last night?
Yes, I did. Greater Cleveland Sports Awards 19th. I've been to all 19. I've been lucky.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Going after DiMaggio's record and that. How was Hannah Storm?
She was great. I thought she did a terrific job. I am not out in the dining area. I'm in the back room because they bring people back, and the media talks to the various presenters and whatnot. But we did have it piped through the TV in the press room, and she seemed to me to be great. She was very personable. I went up to her later and said, "I love your husband." Right. You know, Dan Hicks, right. the great play-by-play voice for NBC. She was like, "Oh, thank you." You know, and she said, "I'll make sure I tell him that. Like, you don't have to if you don't want to." But I love Dan Hicks.
Well, I was thinking about this last night. We talked about it on the show, that, you know, Cleveland always gets a bad rap about what kind of sports town it is and how the teams are and all. But think about the last decade. Mm-hmm. You know, people on the radio complaining that LeBron James didn't get that award as the top athlete, you know, going to the 4th consecutive finals. This is a show. This was not nominating the real stars of everything. They had to put on a show. And LeBron wasn't going to be here. He never showed up. And you were at 19 in a row. He wasn't at 19
in a row.
Well, yeah,
he was there for Hummergate, and that was it. So,
right.
Yeah.
So otherwise, in fact, I sat next to him that day, and that's the only time that I can recall that he showed up at one of those dinners, no matter if he was the award winner or not. But Baker Mayfield, from a PR standpoint and a show, which is what that was last night, he was the right guy.
Sure.
But also we talked about it in the last decade. You got Baker Mayfield, you've got Kluber winning 2 Cy Youngs, you got LeBron with 4 straight championship appearances, and then you continue on. Jose Ramirez could have been almost an MVP. So we've had some pretty good performances by players in the last decade.
Yes. In the span of the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards, we've had 3 Cy Young Award winners in this town. Correct. Which is remarkable. Sabathia, Lee, and Kluber twice. Yeah. So 4 Cy Youngs in the span of the 19 years of the GCSA. I hear what you're saying. I mean, LeBron carried a team to the finals again. They overcame a 3-2 deficit in the Eastern Conference Final to the Celtics. Even though they get swept, it's still an amazing achievement. Jose Ramirez, incredible regular season, no question. You could make a case for those guys. Sure, Kluber as well. But I didn't have a problem with Baker Mayfield winning it. I mean, considering what he did for this town, there's no apologies needed for him winning.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. The D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and cleveland.com. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. They've got it. Catch the excitement of harness racing Monday through Wednesday and Saturday evenings with the 6 p.m. post time at Northfield Park. It's free admission, free parking every day, and open every day for live, for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. We'll come back in a moment. We'll take your phone calls, 216-575-0403. More Sports and Les Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Nature Stone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Nature Stone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
Nature Stone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. Nature Stone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Chris Fedor will join us momentarily. We'll talk Cavs and the NBA with all the trades that are going on. Al Smith, third baseman and right fielder for the Indians, D-man, and he got an assist when Herb Scorer got hit in the eye Line drive off the head of Herb Score. Bounces over to the third baseman. Al Smith picks it up and throws him out. Gets an assist on that play. Neil Down, 1947. Chris Gardocki, former punter with the Browns. Steve Nash, the Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford. And the Cleveland Isaiah and Boston Isaiah Thomas, not the good one.
Isaiah, we hardly knew ye.
Yeah.
Although in his short time here, he certainly stirred up a hornet's nest. Yes, yes, so to speak.
No question about that. Time for a How Come Quickie. D-Man, how come if you go the whole 9 yards, you won't get a touchdown unless it's 1st and goal at the 8?
Great call.
True story. True story. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. NBA trades all over the place. I don't think anybody understands them. You got these two guys, Stauskas and Baldwin. They stopped through town like they waited for another flight to go out. And somewhere, I don't know, do they get counted as members of the Cleveland Cavaliers?
I think you have to have played a game.
You have to
not just put on a uniform. You have to have played a game.
Somebody in the media said, was talking to Kobe Altman, and they going over the trade a couple days ago. He said, but don't worry about these guys. So he knew.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the Cavs are trying to do here? Although today's makes a little sense.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what they're trying to do. Stockpile, draft capital, stay flexible. This is a full-blown rebuild. The grandiose dreams of an 8th seed long ago washed away.
Just as well.
So, yeah, I mean, you were delaying the inevitable anyway because you weren't going to go far in the playoffs if you miraculously got the 8th seed. So it's a rebuild.
We're going to check in with Chris Fedor momentarily. We were talking about Frank Robinson before. You got a story there you might want to tell.
Yeah, emails have been coming in to my and text, including one from my former boss, Mike Starkey at the Plain Dealer, who covered the Indians in those years. Best story ever for the late, great Dave Garcia. He's coaching third, and Frank comes out to argue a call with the plate ump. Gets tossed fast and continues to argue his case. A minute goes by, and he's still arguing, and Davey's trying to figure out why it's going on so long. Finally, he realizes Frank is flashing him a sign while arguing. As soon as he acknowledges it, Frank turns and walks to the clubhouse. Smartest baseball mind I ever knew, Davey said.
Well, I mean, you know, that's interesting. When you normally think of guys...
Intense competitor, too,
yes,
as you know.
And when you talk about guys like that with massive physical skills, you sometimes overlook their knowledge of the game and how to play it, because sometimes in their younger days their talent overcame learning how to play the game.
Yes. I did not. I had one shot at speaking with Frank Robinson. He was in town at Progressive Field, or it might have been Jacobs Field. I can't remember. But he was in for some celebratory deal, and he was sitting in the press box during the game. Unfortunately, I was covering the game. But I knew I had to at least go say hi to him, and I spoke with him for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. He was incredibly cordial and gracious, but
he was a tough guy.
You could tell, yeah. I mean, he was a great guy, but he was competitive, and he struck me as more of a private person than a effervescent guy who wanted to be seen everywhere. But that didn't make him a bad guy.
No,
it just
but
meant,
you know what? You didn't see him capitalize on the circuit, the autograph circuit and all that stuff, where he could have as a 2-time MVP. That puts him at the top of the line as far as autographs payments are concerned. But I don't know that he was big on that at all.
Right, and maybe that's another reason why, again, we think he maybe gets overlooked as a great player. We looked up his WAR. It's over 100 in his career.
Right.
I mean, the guy had 1,800 ribbies, 1,900 or 1,850 runs or something like that. I didn't realize 2,943 hits, so he's only 57 away from 3,000. Just an extraordinary power hitter for a long period of time. And, yeah, because he was not as visible in retirement as maybe some of the other guys, he might not get the attention he deserves as a player.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Chris Fedor hopefully will be joining us.
Where are you, C-Fed? Come on now. Don't avoid us.
Maybe he heard you were on.
Well, I'm going to say that. I'll fess up, while we have him on. He and I got into it a little bit. The gist of it was he is a big Warriors guy. He believes in the Warriors dynasty, and he says they're great, they're great, they're great. I got tired of hearing about how great they were. and we got into a little bit of a Twitter spat. It lasted maybe a minute. But he turned out to be right. I mean, this was a couple years ago, but he's right. The Warriors are so much better than everybody else. I was in denial, but the reality is, what are these other teams playing for this year?
Nothing.
They are the equivalent of the other members of the three-point shooting field when Larry Bird walks in and says, all y'all are playing for second.
Right. All right, we're going to get to Chris when we come back. We'll take a break. Dennis Manoloff is with us, the D-Man, cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer, of course. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Dennis Manoloff and I return in a moment. We are More Sports and Les Levine, and we are seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's check out this date in sports history. This is February 7th, that's 2016. Denver Broncos defeat Carolina Panthers 24-10 in Super Bowl 50. Peyton Manning went 13 for 23, 141 yards, one interception, what would be his last game of his career. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's bring in Chris Fedor from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer, who covers the Cavaliers, does a great job, and he's been doing a lot of stuff. Hello, Christopher. How are you?
What's up, dog?
What's up, guy?
How you doing? The D-Man apologized once again for the problem with the
I publicly
Warriors.
apologize for challenging you for saying the Warriors are so good. You've been proven right. I've been proven wrong.
All right, tell us what happened with the Cavaliers. Of course, can we retire the uniform numbers of Stauskas and Baldwin? Can we do that?
Oh, my gosh. I feel bad for those guys. They started where? In Portland, then they came to Cleveland, then they went to Houston, then they went to Indiana, and now they have no home because they were waived.
They were waived after all that?
They were waived after all of that. And by the way, the other night when the Cavs played the home game, the only thing that I saw Wade Baldwin do was kind of be in awe of his locker. He was looking around his locker, saw his nameplate up there at the top. He saw the phone charging station attached to his locker. He was in awe. He was so pumped about it, but that was the only thing that he did.
So they're not told, okay, you're getting traded, but don't be in a hurry to get there?
Well, I think the Cavs always knew that there was a chance that they were going to flip those guys because when they acquired them, they both had expiring contracts. So it allowed the Cavs, essentially, guys, to just use them as salary cap filler. And I was told at the time that they did acquire those guys in the Hood trade that there was a chance that they weren't going to be here long term. So don't even bother trying to do a story on those guys.
Right. So tell us what they did get in Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris.
Yeah, so it's really not about those guys, Les. I mean, I think the bottom line with this deal for Alec Burks, a three-team trade, was that it was about trying to get those draft picks, those assets for the future. And the Cavs out at the very beginning to get a first-round pick for Alec Burks. They were convinced there was enough interest in him. They told me at the time they did the trade in November, Kyle Korver, that they felt they could flip Alec Burks around the trade deadline for a first-round pick because he had an expiring contract, and he could boost trade value just by playing in the last few months. That's what happened. There's a lot of interest in Alec Burks. The Cavs set out to get a first-round pick. They did, in part because they were willing to take back the bad salary of Brandon Knight. He's a reclamation project. He hasn't played a bunch this year. He's been slow to recover after a torn ACL that cost him all of last season. But because the Cavs were willing to take back that salary, a salary that not a lot of teams around the NBA wanted because it beyond this year, it stretches into next year, they were able to get lottery protected first-round pick. And when it comes to a rebuilding team, guys, you know that the three things that you have to have young, talented players, cap flexibility, and draft picks. And now the Cavs feel like they at least have added to their stash.
C-Fed, first of all, congratulations on having been named to the Cavs beat for .com and the Plain Dealer. You're doing a great job. Regarding the Cavs, one piece in particular has kind of gnawed at me, and that is Kevin Love. I didn't think he should have been signed to that contract that he was. Now you see that they're in a full-blown rebuild. What do you think this means for Kevin Love's future, especially given his salary? The fact that he's injury prone. Where does Kevin Love fit, if at all, with this franchise moving forward?
Well, D-Man, I think there are a lot of layers to this when it comes to Kevin. And if we go all the way back to the offseason and their decision to give him that contract, part of it is they wanted to protect the asset. Kevin would have been going into a season where he was in the final year of his deal with the future unclear, and maybe possibly they lost him at the end of this year for absolutely nothing. So they gave him the contract extension. They protected the asset. They assigned some value to them. They were able to lock him in. The other part of it is they want him. They want Kevin here. When they signed him to the 4-year deal, they said, hey, look, we want you to be a part of this. We want you to be around. Colin Sexton is here, or the draft pick that we bring in 2019 is here. And the Cavs felt all along that the hardest thing to acquire in any rebuild was going to be an all-star caliber player. They had one, so they wanted to make sure they kept him. And now they're with Kevin. If they're not going to trade him this summer, they want him to be around for Colin Sexton year 2 and the guy that they bring to the draft in 2019. And they feel like Kevin will take pressure off those young guys, allow the Cavs not ask those guys to do too much on and off the floor. And they felt like Kevin could be invaluable when it comes to leadership and setting the tone for the culture here. This is what it looks like to be an all-star. This is how hard you have to work. These are the things you have to do to become a champion. And the Cavs value those things. And unless they get blown away by a deal off season for Kevin, and it's possible that they do if he comes back healthy and he shows that he can be the quote-unquote focal point, then the vision is to keep Kevin here and help the young guys grow.
Hey, Chris, we're going to have to move on, but is anything going on in Los Angeles with LeBron? Is any of it surprising you in any way, shape, or form?
What month is it? February, right around the trade deadline? Nope,
what took so long?
This is about the page out of LeBron James' playbook, and he usually tries to play this card, right about now.
Shame on the Pelicans for not caving, Chris.
Oh, come on now. There's no way that they should, D-Man.
Exactly. I was being facetious. I was hearing some national guys, how dare the Pelicans not cave to the Lakers' demands? I'm like, why should they?
Right.
You know?
I mean, I don't understand that line of thinking. The two best things that they could potentially get in an Anthony Davis trade either aren't available right now or can't be available right now. It's the package that Boston could give this offseason. And, oh, by the way, the Pelicans might be able to pry away the #1 overall pick if it goes to, like, the New York Knicks or something, right? If New York says, hey, we want Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and trade for Anthony Davis in, like, this big dream scenario, if they had the first overall pick and it turned into Zion Williamson, of course the Pelicans would rather have that than what the Lakers can offer.
How's future Coach Ty Lue doing right now?
Future Coach Ty Lue is doing just fine. I think he's going to be in the mix for Los Angeles. Another name to watch on that is probably Jason Kidd, because LeBron has always raved about Jason Kidd.
See, Fed, Lou is sleeping on piles of cash every night.
Yeah. All right, Chris, thanks for joining us. Get some rest. You've been
Thank you, Dan.
Get some rest. You've been traveling way too much.
Yeah, you're right. I'm about to head to Washington, D.C., so I'll sleep on the plane, I guess.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Chris Fedor of cleveland.com, and, of course, the Plain Dealer. We appreciate him taking some time. You know, you get the beat like that. Every few moments where you can get at home and rest it's golden.
And we grab them for Skype. I can't even imagine how hard it is to cover a beat these days because of all the demands that are made. But he does a great job.
Today at Sokolowski's University Inn, I met perhaps the most famous citizen of Cleveland. The most famous Cleveland person. Any idea who that would be?
Moses Cleveland?
Not Moses. No.
You?
No.
Mr. Sokolowski, Mike and Bernie?
No, not Mike and Bernie.
You got me.
I met Geraldo Rivera at
Gerald Rivers.
Gerald Rivers. Geraldo Rivera, soaking in the atmosphere at Sokolowski's University, and no place better. 11 to 3 Monday through Friday, Friday and Saturday nights for dinner, and of course the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 in the country get it each and every year. We're going to take a break. We'll come on back in a moment with the D-Man Dennis Manoloff, exclusively on cleveland.com, where you watch More Sports and Les Levine.
Pitted and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Naturestone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt. Eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Naturestone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable garage floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's check out this date in Les Levine history. February 7th, 1964. Les broke his arm in a scramble for a loose ball. The Brush High cheerleaders sent him a card wishing him a speedy recovery by a vote of 4-3. Thank you very much. All right, let's go back review this week in history because it's our last live show of the week. February 4th, 1959, Les resigns as captain of the safety patrol at Roland School. The other students laughed at his idea to put a wall around Wilmington Road. Now we continue on to the 5th. Les looks for his Rocky Colavito baseball card, realizes he put it in the spokes of his bicycle. At least he knew that the real Rocky Colavito would be an Indian forever. Well, the next year, Frank Lane traded him to Detroit for Harvey Keene. And then we get to the 6th. No, we don't. We get back to D-Man.
Speaking of putting baseball cards in difficult spots, when my brother and I were growing up in the 70s, I mean, we loved baseball cards. We couldn't wait to go to the convenience store to get them. They were 10 cents and 25 cents back in my day as a kid. Oh, yeah. You sniffed it. You sniffed it first, then you ate it, and then your mom said, get it out of your mouth because it's nothing but sugar. But here was the thing. What we did, this was well before all these collectors invaded and said you have to preserve every card. We took the best players of every season, wrapped them in Scotch tape, and played with them in the bathtub. Well, we used to play games in the bathtub. We waterproofed our cards.
I don't know if I
well, no, but I mean, we would play underwater baseball.
Absolutely. Here's the difference, though. When you were collecting cards and I was collecting cards, and we'd trade them and do whatever we did, the bicycle spokes, the flipping them, we didn't care who. We just took a card. It could have been a stiff player, could have been a great player. That wasn't in your thinking when you were getting them to flip. You just flipped them. And
exactly.
Whatever can come what may, right?
And another thing we did with the best players is we would have them play baseball on the carpet. We'd play baseball games on the carpet.
You'd have a runner on first, second, third?
All my Pete Rose cards were worn on the front because he would always do I would always do the head first dive into a second or third base. Yeah, and by the time the season was over, there was nothing on the front of his card.
That's very funny. Well, we've been talking about Facebook, facebook.com. We asked a question of the day, which guy on the Cavaliers roster would you pay to watch? Well, we got Andy Mees. He says Delhi, fan favorite, brings energy with his hustle every game, no matter how good or bad the team is. I'll always admire him for his 2015 finals when he played so hard he ended up with IVs in the hospital. Respect for him. Greg Mees, I don't know if these guys are related. Give me Delhi Trey anytime. Robert Martindale, Delhi, the only NBA player. The rest are D-League players. Fire the general manager. Kevin Pyle says, unfortunately, there is nobody. They're unwatchable. I haven't watched the cumulative. I've watched the cumulative total of 2 quarters all season long. Angelo Costanzo, nobody. The roster is G-League All-Stars. Wow.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say you fire Altman. He's doing what he has to do. All right, they got to tear this down virtually to the studs. You heard Fedor. Chris Fedor said something that surprised me a little bit, that the Cavs believe that barring some unbelievable offer that comes down the pike, and I don't think it will then.
Right.
He says Love's here for the immediate future to be a mentor, also to take some pressure off some of the young guys during the rebuild.
That being said, though, they kept him off they've been practicing him, and they said he's okay in practice, but they haven't played him. I assume they were holding him out till after the deadline in case somebody didn't want him and they didn't want him to get hurt.
Right, but I think he's got to show people that he's healthy, and he's going to have to do it for more than 5 games. So that'll probably take you to the end of the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 216-575-0403. Monday night, Terry Pluto will be here. Then Tuesday night, Bud Shaw. I don't know about Wednesday. The D-Man, you'll be here Thursday, I trust.
God willing.
All right.
Oh, by the way, at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards, I saw your son. Got to see Jeremy again.
Talk to him a little bit.
Tremendous. Yeah, he's one of the
I'm going to keep him.
classiest people in the world. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. D-Man, spring training coming up, pitchers and catchers coming up on the 12th, which is next week. You can't possibly go into the season with this outfield, can you?
You would think not, okay? And I've been not adamant, but I've been pretty trying to be persuasive,
right,
to say that I think that Corey Kluber will be moved. I don't want to see him moved. It's not that I'm desperate to get him out of here. The Indians aren't desperate to get out of here. But you have to upgrade that lineup somehow, some way. There are too many holes. We've chronicled this. You have 2 ginormous uncertainties in the outfield, and that's even if you grant me that Leonis Martin and Greg Allen are going to give you something in center field. You have a huge question mark at catcher because Roberto Perez hasn't ever proven that he can be a regular player.
Right.
All right, now, Jan Gomes was not a Johnny Bench as an offensive player,
could
but
play
he was
120
pretty decent.
Games. Yeah.
He wasn't a terrible offensive player. And on top of that, you have to figure out either first base or DH, whichever is not occupied by Carlos on that given day. That hole's got to be filled. And even in the optimistic scenario, you're banking on a good year from Santana and a good year from Kipnis, which aren't guarantees either.
No.
So you can't tell me that guys like Jake Bowers and Luke Lowe and whoever else they run out there are going to fill those spots, even Naquin or Zimmer when he comes back. So I'm still sticking to my belief that they will make a significant trade and sign a bargain basement free agent outfield.
You talk about bargain basement. By the time this whole thing goes here and the 2 big boys sign somewhere eventually, it's got to happen. Somebody's going to fall through the cracks. You still have 150 free agents out there.
Yeah, and I do believe the Indians, I know that what was said in the past week was unsettling to Indians fans because you had Antonetti certainly sounding like this is what they're going to run with.
Right.
I don't agree. I don't think he's trying to deceive people intentionally, but I think deep down they see what we see, and they would like to bring in. You know that there's going to be a free agent outfielder or first baseman / DH who, as you said, falls through the cracks. He's going to want work, and you're going to be able to get him for below market value, or at least what he thinks his market value is, on a 1-year deal. I think that's what the Indians are fishing for.
Well, you got Bryce Harper and Machado just holding up the works here, or their agents are, and hopefully something will happen soon before spring training gets underway. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as well as Saturday nights. Post time 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Each week, the Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education recognizes the students who are role models from across the state of Ohio. This week, we head to Poland Seminary High School to meet Sarah Burry. Sarah excels in basketball and in the classroom as well. The Ohio Lottery is proud to salute Sarah Burry, this week's Shining Star.
Sarah Burry was not born with a basketball, but her earliest memories always include one.
I want to say I was 2 or 3, and we were leaving for vacation, and my dad came out in the driveway and was like, all right, you guys ready? And I was dribbling a basketball in the driveway.
Burry has loved the game ever since then. And with her drive and work ethic, Sarah has started every game for Poland for 4 years.
She works behind the scenes harder than anybody. I mean, she puts a lot of time in outside of practice. She's the girl who does what she needs to in practice and then goes and works on her own, stays after, comes in early, puts in the time on the days off, and just has that drive to be great.
Sarah hit a milestone in January when she went over 1,000 career points. Everyone was waiting for it, except Sarah.
I did not know how many I had, but all my teammates knew. So that game, I guess I was like 2 points away, and they're all yelling, shoot it, shoot it. I didn't pick up on anything. And once I did hit my 20th point of that game to be the 1,000, everyone went crazy, and I was running back on defense, like, what's going on here?
Burry puts up big numbers in the classroom, too. Sarah is a 4.0 student.
She's a willing student. She's a teachable student, and that's not always the case. She comes knowing that she doesn't know everything. She's a hungry learner.
After school, when she's not playing basketball, Sarah's supporting the other Poland teams.
Me and one other friend, Galina, we run the dog pound, so that's our student section for football. So we choose all the themes and have all the chants going, and it's a lot of fun.
Next year, Sarah Burry will be studying finance at Kent State, but she still has some games to play for the Bulldog faithful.
Poland taught me and my teammates a lot in the past. Since we were young, since we were little. I mean, we've always gone to Poland, so just knowing where we came from and how important it is to work hard and be a good person, that'll come with me everywhere.
Well, if you know a student deserving of recognition, visit OhioLottery.com. Go to the About section and find the tab marked Supporting Education. Nominate him or her as an academic all-star. Then he or she could end up as one of our shining stars from the Ohio Lottery. Dennis Manoloff with us. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. All right, D-Man.
That hour flew by, or that
it did. We're still
minutes
here.
Flew by.
Don't give it up yet.
No,
don't give it
yet.
up. But this thing continues to bother me about the Indian situation. But you know what? They're probably no different than anybody else. I find it hard to believe that at this point, first week in February, now it looks like there are 8 or 9 teams talking to Bryce Harper.
Did you ever think that there would be this much of a logjam after the trucks had left for spring training?
No, that's the signal. You're ready to play.
And
play
we
ball.
used to be that winter meetings was all the hubbub and all these guys were going to move in December. Now, again, we talked about this before, and I've heard it mentioned elsewhere. The new school evaluations of players are dramatically different. They have their charts. They have their how much is each individual worth per win, or how much does he cost per win? What are his numbers really worth? And those numbers do not jibe with what players are used to.
That's
so
correct.
That's where you have the conflict. I don't think it's an absolute collusion. You're asking all the owners to collude over hundreds of guys.
Right.
I mean, it'd be one thing if it was 1 or 2. You say, wow, it's collusion with Harper and Machado. No, I don't think so. I think
nobody
it's
wants to pay $280 million.
Yeah, they're basically saying we don't think that value is there, even for a player as dynamic as Harper or Machado.
See if I read this correctly. Let's say they both sign over the weekend.
Yes.
Now the scramble begins. You got to get guys in and out. You got over 150 of them that they're going to be dealing with. This is now the front office has to be smart in a different way than they used to have to be smart.
Yes.
And they have to be quick, and they have to judge who your competition is now, and you got to get it done quick.
There's no question about it. What I believe has already happened, and I don't have sourcing on this. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves. I believe that Antonetti and Chernoff, as smart as they are, have put together a list with their staff. They've identified guys that they'd like to get if available or if at the right price.
But they don't want to stand in line with 5-7 other teams at this point.
Correct. So you have to be able to strike, like you said, be it a text or a phone call or however you're not going to do it by carrier pigeon. You have to be quick, and you got to know who to talk to in the camp, if you will. Maybe it's the agent who's taking the calls. But you be ready to strike, because I think they've identified guys that if the price is right, they're going to strike.
Do you envision, if that happens, do you envision that some of the contracts will be smaller than they might have been otherwise?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to give false hope to Indians fans. I'm not saying that they're going to bring in a cavalcade of guys at the last minute who make a combined $50 million. That's not going to happen, all right? These are going to, if they go free agent route, like I think, it'll be one, maybe two guys at $6, $7, $8 million, if that. So we're not talking about beaucoup, ginormous names, but we're talking about at least guys with major league credentials on the back of their baseball cards.
Does Melky Cabrera do anything for you?
Not over some of the other guys who are out there, potentially, that we don't know. We're not sure they're going to shake loose, or we may think right now their price is too high, but who knows? Maybe it drops. But if worse comes to worse, I don't see why Melky starting the season at least is terrible. But again, he's not my first option.
Right. Marwin Gonzalez is mine.
Listen, I like Marwin Gonzalez. He wears the Indians out, so that might hurt him because he doesn't face the team that he kills. But, yeah, Marwin Gonzalez, I wouldn't complain. He's a classic case, Les. What is Marwin Gonzalez's price?
I don't know.
Nobody knows. I don't even think Marwin Gonzalez or his reps know.
I think some of these players are going to get shortcutted a little bit unknowingly.
A little bit. Yeah.
That'll do it for us. Great job by Chris Fedor. Also to the D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, who we will see next Thursday night. And I'll see you on Monday. The weekend winners tomorrow with Dave Bacon right here on cleveland.com. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.